A lot of people avoid failure at all costs rather than really understanding that it's all part of the process. And I'm curious for you, like, how do you look at failure and how do you make failure work for you?
Well, if you avoid failure at all costs, and you're taking the biggest failure of all time, because you'll end up looking back on your life and realize you didn't do anything. And like, you had all this potential, you could have done something, you got all these great ideas, and you never took action on them. And that ends up being the biggest failure of all time. It's like a wasted life. And so, one, that helps me. That was how I used to always run my decisions, to say, hey, if Allan's going to have me on a show and I'm going to be super nervous for that show, what if I fail? Or what if I don't know an answer to the question? I would tell myself, when I'm 120 years old and I look back at my life, that episode with Allan, that's going to be the one that changes everything. And I should have said yes to it, right? And I use that potential regret, even if you're making it up a little bit, just the potential regret would give me the courage to go off and do the thing. The other thing that really helps me is I just keep going, So when I have a video that comes out, have I had videos that failed? All the time. What do I think about them? I don't know. I'm worried about the next video, right? It's like, if you're so concerned about this one thing having to work, then there's so much pressure on it, and you end up beating yourself up over it. And then you spend days or weeks or months or years or whatever looking back on how big a failure that thing was. But if you're excited about the next thing that you're working on, you often don't have time to look back, and you can learn from mistakes that you made, but you don't have time to sit back and sit in how bad you feel about it, because you're excited about the next thing that you're about to go and create.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's more, just not distracting yourself with the things around what if, but more about what's next, and keep improving every single step. So do you see perfectionism as a positive habit, a negative habit? And I'm kind of curious for you, have you ever wrestled with that?
I'm a recovering perfectionist. I lost a $40 million deal when I was 22 because of it. And ever since, it's been a fight to not have that in me. And so if it was me 10 years ago, it would have been, okay, Allan, what are all your questions? I need to know in advance the questions you're going to ask me, because my biggest fear is disappointing people. I don't want to show up on your show, on somebody's stage, on a video, and disappoint people. And so it leads to a lot of perfectionism, that everything has to be perfect. And I made all of the same mistakes that everybody makes at the beginning, of overthinking and over planning, over strategizing and over analyzing, and then nothing happens. And so if this show was 10 years ago, I would have asked for a list of all your questions in advance, because I wanted to make sure I had a great prepared answer. The problem with that is I could give you great answers, but it would be practice and would be rehearsed, and it wouldn't be authentic. Back to your word, you'd have a practice answer, but not, the real answer. And so it was really scary for me. And it was a process that I slowly went through, to trust in the moment, and to trust that all my preparation has led me to here and what I'm doing right now. And then trust that even if the next step sucks, I'll figure it out. And if you can trust that great ideas flow through you, and to let go of how it has to happen in a certain way, then great things will come to you. Think about the Allan from 5 years ago. Would Allan from 5 years ago think that Allan would be here right now, today, doing this? Probably not. Whatever you had on your life plan or vision board, like, here's where I'm going to be in 5 years. If we go back 5 years ago, you probably wouldn't say you'd be here. And so what makes us think that we can plan for the next 5 years? Allan now has no idea what Allan is capable of doing in the next 5 years. Not if you're growing and learning, right? If you could actually predict where you're going to be in 5 years or 10 years, it means that you are thinking small compared to what you're capable of doing. And so it's letting go of the perfect plan. It doesn't mean that you do zero planning ever. Planning can be important, but it's definitely not the first step. And it's not judging yourself and having a perfect plan before you start, which is all the mistakes that I made, and just trying to make it a little bit easier for the next generation.